Hello everyone. In the last video, we saw the basics of PowerShell, how to read from command line, how to write to the command line. We also saw something around the object types. What is a character? What is a int? How does it matter when we try to add two characters or two strings? And what is the difference when we add two integers? Today, what we are going to do is we are going to look at a very basic conditional statement, that is the if statement. So if is always accompanied with the else statement. So what we are going to see is a if else statement. We will see how the if else statement works in PowerShell for numbers as well as for strings or characters. We'll also modify this first script that we had to incorporate the if statements and probably try to build our first working script. So before we start, let me show you how the syntax for if statement works. So just like the previous example, uh, let me just take two variables, $A, $B, and save some numbers into it. So I'll say $A equal to 10, $B equal to, I'll take the same numbers like last video, 23. Before we go ahead, let me see what is the type of the object that has been created or the variable that has been created. So I'll say $A dot get type enter. So it is a number. So we are sure that we are working with numbers over here when we are working on the console, and we can just look at the syntax now. So the syntax for if statement is, we just say if the condition goes between these two brackets, then we have uh, the curly braces for what has to be done in the if condition is true, and then we have else and what should be done in case of else. So let me just take a very basic example. I want to see if $A is less than $B. So what I'll do is if I'll say $A. Now in PowerShell we have less than, we have less than, equal to, we have greater than, but we don't use the typical symbols like this for less than. What we'll do is we'll write hyphen and we'll say I want to see less than, so I'll say hyphen less than, so LT $B. Now if this is true, I want to print something onto the screen. So what that something could be, I'll just say write hyphen host $A is smaller number. Let me see what happens if I press enter. Now it says $10 is a smaller number, which we all know. Now let me just change the value of $A to 23. So I'll say $A equal to 23. Now both $A and $B are equal. We'll run the same command and see what happens now. So what I have is if $A less than $B, right host $A is a smaller number. I don't get any output. So it says that $A is not less than $B. But what if I want to see if $A is greater than $B? Let me just put it this way. I'll say $A. Now because it is greater than GT, greater G for greater, T for than. So I'll say greater than. Now if I press enter, again it is neither small than 23 and neither larger than 23. Now the next thing that I can check is if $A equals, so for equals I'll say EQ, and I'll just modify this is equal to $B. There we go. So I see 23 is equal to 23. So which means that $A is equal to $B. There is another way. Let's say I want to have a list of numbers which is less than or equal to. In that case, I would change it to $A. Now, because it is less than equal to, I'll say LE, because less than equal to, L from less than and E from equal to, it becomes LE. Now, let me see what is the output. It is again the same because $A is less than or equal to. So in this case, it becomes equal to. Now, if I change the value of $A to 22, it will still give me the same output. I'll just change I'm just saying that if at all $A is less than $B, print $A. So it is saying 22. Now, coming to one more thing, I mean, what I'm doing right now is if $A is less than $B, I'm printing $A, but else I want to print $B. So what I can do is I'll say over here, I'll just change $A is smaller, else I'll say right hyphen post $B is smaller. Now let me see what happens if I print this. So it says $22 is smaller because $A is 22. Now let me just change the value of $A to 26. And if I run this, it says 23 is smaller, which is basically $B. So you get it? I mean, I can have both the conditions in one statement. So I can use these kind of statements when I want to do a conditional output. Say, if this thing happens, do this, else do this. I can have multiple if statements as well. For example, if I want to say if $A is less than $B, print $A. If $B is less than $A, print $B. If they both are equal, print both the numbers. So in that case, it will be if, and then as we said, I mean, this is just grammar. I mean, I can just say else if $B is less than. So I just write, I'll just put a semicolon so that we understand where the statements are ending. I'll say else if $B is less than $A. I'll say right hose $B is smaller. And now at the end, I'm going to say else. So let me just close this. Else, give me a minute. Else, I'll say right hyphen host both are equal. Oh, what did I miss? Term else is not recognized over here. Yeah. Now it is correct. Okay, let me just try it over here. I'll say the same thing. Yeah, this is the way I generally troubleshoot things. So I'll just take input from the users. I'll say $num1 equal to read hyphen host enter num1, and like we did last time, I'll say $num int1 equal to convert colon. I always end up missing a T colon to int 64 dollar num 1. Now I'll just copy paste this for number 2 num2 int 2 and num2. Yeah, so now I'll say if dollar num int 1 hyphen less than dollar num int 2, I'll say right hyphen host first number is smaller. Now I'll just, oh, okay. So this is where I went wrong. Now I think there's a lot of things on one line. That is why it is giving me some syntax errors. Let me just say else if dollar num int 2 is less than dollar num int 1. Just copy this. Control V. Second number is smaller. And if you see, it still says this. You'll say else. I'll say both numbers are equal. Control V. Both the numbers are equal. Now I have to save this. I'll just save as on desktop. I'll say second script.ps1, just like our first script. I'll say save, and let me clear this up. Clear. I just hope that this runs. /second script.ps1 and enter number 1. I'll say 10. Enter number 2, again 23. The first number is smaller. I'll run this again. I'll say 23, 10. The second number is smaller. Now I'll say 23, 23. Both the numbers are equal. So basically, when I was running on the command line, it was that was too much of commands on one line. So that is why the problem. But now you can see that I can have a if statement over here, if else and a else, which means if this is true, do this. Else, if this is true, do this. If both are not true, then do this. Now I can have multiple else if. So this is basically a if, else kind of a loop. You can also have nested if loops inside. We'll touch that when we go for the advanced if conditions or advanced scripts. But for now, we can use the if and else if command. So now let us go back to our first script just to see how we can use this. Over here, just to tell you what we did, we took two numbers, we did a sum of two numbers, and we did a diff of two numbers, that is subtracted second number from the first number. We wrote the sum and the difference of the two numbers. Now, not necessarily we always know what is going to be the bigger number. Now, just to make it foolproof, what I can do is, after I get this, I'll say if dollar num1 hyphen less than dollar num2, I want to subtract this second number, first number from the second number. But if this is not true, what I want to do is, I want I'll say else, I don't need this, delete. I'll say dollar number one minus dollar number two. The sum is anyways okay, because when we do sum, it is just adding two numbers. We don't need to know which number is bigger, which number is smaller. Now this becomes a foolproof kind of a program. So let me just run the first script again. Enter first number is 10. Enter second number. Again, I'll keep to 23. The sum is 33 and the difference is 13. Now, if I reverse this, enter first number, I say 23. The second number, I say 10. Again, the value is same. Now, this script is going to fail if I give both the numbers as same. So if I say 23, I'll say just 2 and 2. The sum is 4, the difference is 0. So basically, if it went in this, I did not want this to happen, but yeah, it just said if it is not bigger than it, then just subtract the second number from the first number. Yeah, what I want you guys to do is add an else if loop to this. You can try this. If you don't succeed in adding a else if loop to it, and also probably try to add some more arithmetic operations and make it kind of a complete program. If we cannot do it, if you cannot do it, just leave a comment and I'll probably try to give you the script altogether. Now, once this is done, this is with respect to numbers. We can do the same thing with respect to the strings. But in strings, there is no, we don't have a less than or a greater than string. The string is a string. For string, we have conditions like we'll have, is it same? Is it, does the first string contains the second string? So for example, I'll say str1 equal to abc, and I'll say dollar str2 equal to pqr. Now I want to check if the string 1 is equal to string 2. So again, I'll just say if dollar str1 hyphen equals dollar str2, and I'll say right hyphen host strings are equal. It does not say. So I'll say else right hyphen host strings are not equal. So it is saying strings are not equal. Now what happens if I just change this to ABC? It says the strings are equal. Now there is a situation that I change this to small ABC, and now see what does it say. It still says strings are equal, but in our case I want it to be case sensitive. So there is an option to check if the strings are case sensitive, are same or of same case. I can say hyphen C for again case, and I think over here. So it is case sensitive equals to case sensitive. So just use the basic English, like C is for case and equal to, so case sensitive equal to. And if I say this, it says the strings are not equal. While both the strings are ABC, it still says the strings are not equal. So this is how you can compare your strings. You can also see if it contains. So for example, dollar ABC, I want to see if, I'll take new example, dollar str3 equal to ABCDEFG. Now, dollar $str4 is a subset of this. So I'll say it is CDE. Now I want to check if dollar string 4 or the fourth string is a subset of string 3, or in other words, I want to see if dollar string 3 contains dollar string 4. I can just say something like dollar str3 dot contains dollar str4. I don't know if this works this way, but I'll just try. It says true. I can use the same thing in the if statement, something like if dollar str3 dot contains dollar str4. Now just pay attention to the opening and closing braces, because that are very important. I'll say write hyphen host string 4 is, or I'll say dollar str4 is subset of dollar str3. And again an else statement which says write hyphen host, I'll just say it is not the subset of string 3. I'll just keep it simple. Control C, Control V is not. So it says CDE is subset of ABCDEFG, which is true. Now I'll just change the string 4 to PQR and see what it says. PQR is not a subset of ABCDEFG, which is again true. So this is how you can manipulate the strings. You can work around the strings. You can use some if conditions around the strings. And of course, you can also use your integer comparisons. I'd say go ahead, try most of these options. So if I just show you dollar str4 or str3 dot 3 dot, there are multiple options that I can see. Dollar str3 dot. I'll say try most of it. There is ends with, there's copy to, compare to. I want you to go ahead, try all these options, because that is how you will understand how PowerShell works, how the strings work, how the if conditions work, what are the different type of functions that I can run on a string. This will be very helpful when we go ahead and start actually writing our big scripts to do some activities. Like let's say I want to change host names of certain VMs which are connected on network. So these are like the big options that we have, or the big tasks that we do generally as a day 2 activity task, or change IP address, get IP address. If the IP address is something, change the IP address to something. But you need to get your basics first. So do definitely go ahead, try this, and let me know in the comments if you need any help. I'll definitely like to help you out. Next time we'll go into loops, which is your for loop, your do while loop, and we'll also see switch case, switch statements. Till then, just practice and leave comments if you need any help.